Not the way we were expecting to see this series end for the Toronto Blue Jays. They dropped the finale 8-6 to the Minnesota Twins and lose the series. 2-3, or 2-1, and 2 out of the 3. And with the loss, the Jays now dropped to 31-22. And there are a lot of things you can dissect from this game. You could say Kevin Gausman wasn't good, and we could probably say this is the first outing this year that he has not been good. There's thoughts about him tipping pitches, and he'll have to look back at film and this and that, and that was the talk after the game. But I was listening to Blair and Barker after the game, and they were mentioning that Vladdy and Teoscar Hernandez didn't look ready to play today. And I thought about it for a second. And in that inning, right, where there were 2 misplays, I can't remember if Vladdy was in the first inning. I believe that Teoscar Hernandez was definitely in the first inning. And that's how the first run crossed. It's a lazy fly ball. Polanco hits it up there. Teo loses it in the sun, and it falls in. They score a run to the plate, giving them the lead. Then Urshela hits an RBI ground out. Gary Sanchez comes in to score. Miranda, it's an RBI single. Polanco scores. And you're on 3-0 after 1 inning. It seemed to be a story during this 3-game set. Just go down at least a couple early in the game. In all 3 games, the Jays were down multiple runs before they even got to touch the plate. And that's a problem. That cannot be happening. But back to the Teoscar play. It's midday, right? And you lost in the sun. So the sun's out. Why are there no sunglasses on these guys? They said they weren't ready to play, and I'm like, you know what? I look at that play, and it's sunny outside, and they're running out there without sunglasses on. Vladdy as well. On that pop-up that he missed, it was in foul territory. But that's an out you got to have. But he wasn't wearing sunglasses either. And Teo also went like 0 for 4 with a couple strikeouts today. You know, they just looked out of sorts. And I'm like, very interesting. I didn't even really pick up on that until I heard it. And then I had to look back. And yeah, it didn't look pretty. But let's break down the ball game, though. And we talked about the first inning just there. In the bottom half of the first inning, George Springer absolutely leadoff home run total as he cranks another one. Solo bomb, and it's 3-1. And we're like, okay, the Jays are back in it. The next 2 batters walk. Bo and Vladdy both walk. And there's still nobody out, and the first 3 guys have reached base. Well, Teo then gets out, and then the defense makes a nice play and gets Alejandro Kirk to double up, and the inning is over. So you have a chance there to really break this game open or tie the game or whatever. You don't get that big hit. And then in the top of the second inning, Palacios hits an RBI single, and Gordon scores, and then Polanco singles, Palacios scores, and it's 5-1, right? Kevin Gausman is not feeling it to this point. As I mentioned, there were thoughts on tipping pitches, but I'm going to disregard that to this point and just say he wasn't great. He wasn't getting a lot of swing and miss on the splitter. I think that's probably why they're thinking that was happening. But bottom line, you have 5 runs over 2 innings. It's just not good enough. Right? And you're putting your team in a massive deficit early in this game. And while that happened, I had flashbacks to Friday night's game. Because their bullpen, when they had the lead, is not bad. You look at all the numbers of the guys they keep bringing in. Jarrell Cotton, many of the other guys they bring in, they're like sub-3 ERA. They got good stuff. And I'm like, you cannot give this team, you have to beat the snot out of their starter. You did that yesterday. And you didn't face any of their big guys because you demolished them. Game 1, it was back and forth. But once they took that little bit of a lead, and then their bullpen comes out there, shut the door. More or less the same here, right? You get the solo bomb from George Springer, and then in the bottom of the 4th inning, after it's 5-1, Alejandro Kirk hits a solo bomb. It's 5-2 now. Right? But then the bullpen comes out, and the Jays don't score for 3 innings, right? Larnack hits a solo bomb in the top of the 7th inning to extend it to 6-2. And Matt Chapman hits a solo bomb in the bottom of the 7th, and he had a day at the plate, making it 6-3. And we're like, okay, they're back in the game here, right? Maybe some late game heroics here, I don't know. But then at the top of the 8th inning, Gary Sanchez hits a 2-run bomb, and it's now 8-3, and it's like, well, that's pretty much all she wrote. But then in the bottom of the 9th inning, Santiago Espinal has a 3-run bomb, scoring Chapman and Kirk, and it's a 2-run game. Right? And then I believe it was Gurriel then gets on and ends up at second base. Then George Springer gets a single, and there's runners in the corners with 2 out. The tying runs at first, the winning runs at the plate, and Bo gets out to end the ball game. And people are going to sit here and yell at Bo Bichette. This, and honestly, no. What is this saying you always hear in baseball? Pitching and defense wins you games, wins you championships. We saw that earlier in the season when the team's offense wasn't very good. You were still finding a way to win games and be above 500 with your pitching and your defense. But the plays that should be made that weren't made today, plus Kevin Gausman not being the greatest, led to this loss. Yeah, you had chances to score runs, sure. But when you score 6 runs on 10 hits, you should win a ball game. And they didn't. Let's get to the pitching stats. Kevin Gausman, 3 2/3, led 9 hits, 5 runs, 3 of them were earned, and 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. Again, wasn't getting the swing and miss, only 3 strikeouts. And 3 2/3 ain't too bad, but a lot of 9 hits, a lot of hard contact off of Kevin Gausman. David Phelps did a great job coming out of the bullpen, relieving Kevin Gausman with an inning in the third and a strikeout. And that's also a big thing, though, right? The Jays have some pretty good back end of the relievers. Obviously, Adam Simber gave up a solo bomb to the Larnack, but his stuff is good. Romano's stuff is good. We all know Jimmy Garcia's stuff is good, right? But then you have that in-between guys, that middle relief guys that you want to put up zeros in a game like this to kind of allow your team to crawl back into it. Well, the Jays don't really have that. They have not good, and then your best guys. And that middle gap is something the Jays don't really have, right? David Phelps, you could arguably say he's a late inning guy because he's been so reliable. Inning in the third and a strikeout. Trevor Richards, can't say he's reliable, but he went an inning on 1 walk and that was it. Adam Simber, of course, the only reliable guy that goes out there him and Phelps. But one of the only high leverage guys that pitched today went an inning, allowed 3 hits and 2 runs, and the 1 run, it was a solo bomb to Larnack. But then I see Andrew Vasquez go 2/3 an inning, allowed 1 hit, one run. Jeremy Beasley goes out there, goes an inning and a third, allows 3 hits, a run. It was obviously the 2-run bomb to Gary Sanchez and gets a couple strikeouts. Like, they come in there and the bullpen goes out and it's a 5-1 game, right? And it's like, okay, well, it's still a long ways away, but you string zeros together and allow your offense to get in the groove, right? Because Alejandro Kirk hit a solo bomb, then Matt Chapman hit a solo bomb, and you're like, okay, well, at that point, it would have been a 5-3 if the zeros were put up, but they weren't. And, go to the last inning, you scored 6, albeit you probably would have seen a different pitcher than Tyler Duffy if it was a 1-run ball game in the 9th, but either way, you scored 6. You should have won the ball game. But your bullpen allowed 3 runs in the remaining, 4 or 5 innings, which it's just not good enough when you need to come back in a game. Pitching and defense wins you games. It didn't happen today. You didn't get the good pitching. You didn't get the good defense. The plays that were supposed to be made didn't get made, and you lost. And it's plain and simple. Offensive stats, George Springer went 2 for 5 in the game of the run, scored an RBI and the home run. Alejandro Kirk went 1 for 3 in the game, scored 2 runs, had the home run and an RBI. He walked once as well. And Matt Chapman, as I mentioned earlier, had a day at the plate. 3 for 4 in the game, 2 runs, scored an RBI, and obviously the solo bomb that he hit. And Santiago Espinal continues to hit well. 2 for 4 in the game of the run, scored 3 RBIs on the 3-run bomb that he hit. And the team overall, 10 hits in the game, only struck out 5 times. Not bad offensively, but again, pitching and defense wasn't good enough. And you lost the series. All right? Now, the Jays now leave town, though. They head to Kansas City to take on the Royals starting tomorrow night for a 3-game set. And look, you have the stretch of, I believe it's playing KC, Detroit, and Baltimore. Like, this is a stretch now where you got to win ball games. Look, yeah, we can talk about how, Minnesota, while they're not healthy, COVID, they're still winning. They're still leading their division, right? So it's like you lost the series as much as you probably should have won the series. You didn't. These upcoming series, you have to do a job. You got to pitch well, and the boys got to mash because you're not going to be facing grade A pitching in this stretch. You're just not. Game 1 on Monday, Ross Stripling gets the ball for the Blue Jays, obviously taking the spot of Hyunjin Ryu, and Dylan Lynch, I believe it is Lynch, is on the mound, for the Kansas City Royals in Game 1. That's an 8-10 first pitch there. He has an ERA north 4. So again, a guy that the Jays, when they're cruising, which they still are today, back-to-back games of still double-digit hits, you should be able to do a job. Tuesday, you got Alec Manoah versus Brad Keller. Do I need to say anything more? 8-10 first pitch there. Game 3, Wednesday, you got Kikuchi versus Brady Singer. The young righty Brady Singer, we'll have to see. That's a 2-10 first pitch. That's the finale. Those are the 3 games we'll be seeing against Kansas City. And look, anything less than 2 out of 3 is a failure, and it is not pretty. But if you go out there and you do a job, you win 2 or 3, or you sweep, which you probably should, and that's what we want to see. Because we're watching the Yankees, and people keep complaining about, oh, the easy schedule. Well, now you're getting to the Jays' easy schedule. So take care of business. Starting tomorrow night, Stripling, Lynch at 8:10 in Kansas City. All right? So you know what, guys? That is going to do it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, and definitely not the game today, because it was definitely heartbreaking to watch, because it was bad for the majority of the game. Then the false hope, and you lose. Those hurt the most. So smack the like button. Do appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button if you guys not already. Comment down below thoughts on the video, thoughts on the game, what you like. What you not like from today's game for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Twitter link is down below, so follow up, send me a DM. Do all that great stuff. The Instagram link is also down below, so follow up there if you guys have not done so already. And I will talk to you guys, obviously, tomorrow night between the Jays and the Royals. I'll probably be my buddy Kai's played done that video a few times for you guys, so you know the setup there. 8-10 first pitch there. Stripling Lynch is the pitching matchup in game 1 of the 3-game set against the KC Royals. All right, so thank you guys so much for listening and watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and definitely not the game today. We'll talk to you guys then.